"Rebecca, could you grab more champagne from the back and maybe clear these plates? Trevor's mother is very particular about presentation." That's what my daughter Natalie said to me. Not quietly, not privately. Right there in the middle of the Caldwell Country Club ballroom, in front of Trevor's entire family and half of Manhattan's corporate elite. She handed me a tray like I worked there, like I was staff. I stood there holding that silver tray, wearing the simple black dress she'd told me to wear because it would blend in better, and I watched my 23-year-old daughter turn back to her boyfriend's parents without introducing me, without acknowledging who I actually was. "Oh, how wonderful," Mrs. Caldwell said to Natalie, gesturing at me with her champagne glass. "It's so hard to find good help these days. Where did Trevor's parents find her?" Natalie laughed. Actually laughed. "She's very reliable. Been helping the family for years." The family. Not our family. The family. I stood there, and something inside me that had been bending for 23 years finally snapped. But I didn't say anything. Not yet. I just took that tray, walked to the kitchen, set it down carefully, took off the apron Natalie had given me, and walked out the back door of that country club. I got in my car, my 15-year-old Honda Civic that I parked in the far lot so it wouldn't embarrass her, and I drove home to the small apartment in Queens where I'd raised her alone since she was 6 months old. I didn't cry on that drive. I was too angry to cry. I kept seeing her face, that practiced smile she uses for networking events, the way she handed me that tray without even blinking. Like it was the most natural thing in the world to pretend your mother was the help. And I kept thinking about how I got here. About how the girl I worked 3 jobs to put through NYU, the girl I gave up teaching to take care of my dying mother so I could save money for her tuition, the girl I gave everything to, had just erased me in front of a room full of strangers. Let me back up. Let me tell you how we actually got here. 23 years ago, I got pregnant during my senior year at CUNY. Natalie's father, my boyfriend at the time, disappeared the day I showed him the positive test. Just vanished, changed his number, moved out of his dorm, gone. I had Natalie 3 weeks before my graduation. I walked across that stage to get my teaching degree with a 2-week-old baby being held by my mother in the audience. I became a 4th-grade teacher in the Bronx. My mom watched Natalie while I worked. We lived in a tiny 2-bedroom in Queens that my mom had owned since the 70s. Life was tight, but it was good. Natalie was smart. So smart. She read chapter books by kindergarten, did middle school math in 3rd grade. I poured everything into her education, signed her up for every program I could afford, drove her to violin lessons, debate team, SAT prep. When Natalie was 14, my mom got diagnosed with stage 4 pancreatic cancer. The medical bills were crushing. Insurance covered some, but not enough. I had a choice. Keep teaching and watch my mother die alone in pain, or quit and take care of her myself while burning through our savings. I quit. I took care of my mom for 2 years until she passed. By then, Natalie was in her junior year of high school, applying to colleges. Our savings were gone. The house my mom owned, sold to pay medical bills. We moved to a small apartment in a worse neighborhood. I couldn't go back to teaching. The market was different, and I'd been out too long. I started working retail at a department store in Manhattan. I worked doubles. I worked holidays. I saved every penny. When Natalie got into NYU with a partial scholarship, I took out loans, big loans, loans that I'm still paying off at 41 years old. Natalie never worked during college. I told her not to. I wanted her to focus on networking, internships, building the life I never could. She did. She graduated top of her class, landed a job at a prestigious PR firm, started dating Trevor, whose family owns a chain of luxury hotels. And slowly, so slowly I almost didn't notice, she started being embarrassed by me. It started small. "Mom, can you not come to my office? It's easier if we just meet for dinner." Then, "Mom, I can't make Sunday brunch. Trevor's family has this thing." Then, "Mom, Trevor's parents are very traditional, so maybe just don't mention the teaching thing. Tell them you're in retail management." Retail management, like I was running a Nordstrom instead of folding sweaters at Macy's for $16 an hour. But I did it. I lied. Because I wanted Natalie to have what I never did: stability, security, a future without struggling. 6 months ago, something happened that changed everything. I was visiting Natalie's apartment in the West Village, a beautiful one-bedroom that she shares with her roommate Emma, another PR girl. I was dropping off some groceries. I couldn't help myself. I still bought her groceries, even though she made $75,000 a year and I made $35,000. She wasn't home. I used the key she'd given me. I put the groceries away and was about to leave when I heard voices in the hallway. Natalie and Emma were coming back. I was going to call out, but then I heard what they were saying. "God, I love your apartment," a male voice said. "Trevor, it's so much nicer than having your parents constantly around." "Tell me about it," Emma replied. "My mom wants to visit every weekend. It's exhausting." Then Natalie's voice. "At least your mom has a real career to talk about. Mine is she works retail. It's embarrassing when Trevor's parents ask what she does." "Can't you just lie?" Trevor asked. "I do," Natalie said. "I tell everyone she's in retail management, which sounds better than it is. But God, Rebecca, can you just not wear that?" They were right outside the door. I couldn't leave without them seeing me, so I stood there in her kitchen, listening to my daughter talk about me like I was a stain she couldn't wash out. "The worst part," Natalie continued, "is she tries so hard. She sent me this long text about wanting to meet Trevor's family properly. I can't, you know? His mom would judge me so hard if she knew my actual background." "Your background?" Emma said. "Girl, you went to NYU." "Yeah, but barely. Mom took out so many loans. We're not wealthy. We're not even middle class, really. Trevor's family is. They're old money. They summer in the Hamptons. Mom summers in Queens watching Netflix." They all laughed. They laughed at me. My daughter laughed at the woman who gave up her career, her home, her entire life to make sure she could have hers. I waited until they went into Emma's room, then I left quietly. I didn't tell Natalie I'd heard. I didn't tell her anything. I just went home, sat on my couch in my small apartment with the water-stained ceiling, and I made a decision. I wasn't going to be erased anymore. I wasn't going to apologize for existing. And I certainly wasn't going to keep funding a life where I was the secret shame. I opened a new bank account that day, a secret one. I started funneling money there. Not much at first, just $50 here, $100 there. Money I would have spent on groceries for Natalie. Money I would have sent her for emergencies that were never really emergencies. I also made a decision. I was going to stop taking out money for her. The week before, she'd asked me to loan her $2,000 for a security deposit on a new apartment she wanted with Trevor. A nicer place. 1 bedroom instead of sharing. I'd already started the loan application. I canceled it. I also started selling things. The jewelry my mom left me, the vintage record collection, old furniture, I sold it all online, quietly, methodically. Every dollar went into that secret account. 3 months later, I had $12,000. It wasn't enough yet, but it was a start. I kept working doubles. I picked up extra shifts. I stopped buying anything that wasn't absolutely necessary. I meal prepped rice and beans. I canceled my streaming subscriptions. I walked to work instead of taking the subway when weather allowed. Natalie never noticed. She was too busy with her life, her boyfriend, her career. She called every 2 weeks, brief calls. "How are you? Good? Okay. Love you. Gotta run." 5 minutes, maximum. I didn't tell her what I was doing. I didn't tell anyone. 4 months after I started saving, I found it. A listing online for a small cottage in upstate New York, near Lake George. 2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, tiny kitchen, but it had a porch and a view of the mountains, and it cost $85,000. It needed work, but it was mine. It could be mine. I had $20,000 saved. I needed $17,000 more for the down payment. I did the math. I could have it in 2 months if I sold my car and bought a cheaper one, took out a small personal loan, and sold the last valuable thing I owned, my mom's wedding ring. I sold the car first. My Honda was old but reliable. I got $3,500 for it. I bought a $1,200 beater that barely ran but would get me to work. I took out a $5,000 personal loan. And then, one night, I held my mom's ring under the lamp, the small diamond catching the light, and I cried, but I sold it anyway, $8,000. I had my down payment. I called the seller. We negotiated. I offered $80,000 cash. Quick closing. They accepted. I signed papers at night after work, electronically, on my phone. I never told Natalie. She never asked what I was doing with my time. The keys arrived in the mail 2 weeks before the charity gala. I held them in my hand, sitting on my couch, and I cried again. But this time, not from sadness, from relief, from knowing I had an escape route. I had a place where I was wanted, even if the only person who wanted me there was me. Then came the gala. Natalie had invited me 3 days before. Mom, Trevor's family is hosting their annual charity gala. It's black tie, very formal. Trevor's mom asked if I could bring someone to help coordinate, make sure everything runs smoothly. You'd be perfect. You're so organized. Help coordinate? I asked carefully. Yeah, just making sure plates are cleared, drinks are refilled, that kind of thing. It would really help me out. Trevor's mom is so stressed about the event, and if I can show her I'm helpful, it would be huge for me. She wasn't asking me to come as her mother. She was asking me to come as staff. Natalie, I said slowly, you want me to work your boyfriend's family's event? It's not work, Mom. It's helping. Come on, you're always saying you want to be part of my life. This is a big deal for me. Trevor's talking about proposing soon. I need his family to like me. I should have said no. I should have hung up right then. But some part of me, some stupid, hopeful part, thought maybe if I went, if I showed up, she'd change her mind. She'd introduce me properly. She'd remember who I was. So I said yes. She told me to wear something simple and black. She said to park in the back lot. She said to come in through the service entrance. And I did. Like an idiot, I did all of it. That's how I ended up standing in that ballroom, holding a tray, being introduced as family help. When I got home that night, I didn't sleep. I sat at my kitchen table with the keys to my cottage in front of me, and I planned. The gala was on Saturday. Today was Sunday. I had Monday off from work. I called out sick for the rest of the week. Then I started packing. I didn't have much. My whole life fit into my car. Clothes, books, photo albums, my laptop, kitchen supplies. That was it. Everything else, the furniture, the dishes, it all belonged to the landlord or wasn't worth taking. On Monday morning at 10 a.m., I drove to the Caldwell Hotel headquarters in Midtown. I knew from Natalie that Mrs. Caldwell ran the family foundation out of an office on the 15th floor. I knew she was there every Monday for board meetings. I put on my best dress, the one I'd worn to Natalie's college graduation. I walked into that marble lobby like I belonged there. I took the elevator to 15. The receptionist looked up. Can I help you? I'm here to see Mrs. Caldwell. I don't have an appointment, but it's regarding Saturday's gala. I'm Rebecca Walsh. One moment. She called back. 2 minutes later, I was being escorted to a pristine office with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Central Park. Mrs. Caldwell sat behind a massive desk, perfectly coiffed, looking at me with polite confusion. Miss Walsh? I'm sorry. I don't believe we've met. We have, I said calmly. Saturday night. You thought I was the help. Her face went pale. Oh my God. I'm so sorry. I didn't realize that I was Natalie's mother? Yes, I know. She didn't tell you. She introduced me as family help. Mrs. Caldwell looked genuinely horrified. I had no idea. I'm so sorry. That must have been awful. It was, I said. But I'm not here for an apology. I'm here to make a donation. She blinked. A donation? I pulled out my checkbook, my secret checkbook, the one Natalie knew nothing about. I wrote out a check for $5,000. $5,000 I'd saved by not giving it to my daughter for emergencies that weren't emergencies, for rent she could afford herself, for a lifestyle I was funding while she was ashamed of me. I handed the check to Mrs. Caldwell. This is for your foundation, I said, for underprivileged students pursuing education. In my name. Rebecca Walsh. I want the donation publicly listed. Mrs. Caldwell looked at the check, then at me. Miss Walsh, this is incredibly generous, but I know what you're thinking. How does the help have $5,000 to donate? I'm not the help. I'm a mother who worked retail for 10 years to put my daughter through NYU debt-free because I didn't want her to struggle like I did. I'm a mother who quit teaching to care for my dying mother so I could save money for my daughter's future. I'm a mother who gave up everything so my daughter could have everything. And on Saturday, my daughter was so ashamed of me that she pretended I was your staff." Mrs. Caldwell's expression shifted. She set down the check carefully. "Does Natalie know you're here?" "No. And she won't until you publish that donor list. Then she'll see my name, Rebecca Walsh. $5,000. Not family help. Not retail worker. Not embarrassing mother. Just my name. The name I've been trying to make her proud of for 23 years. I turned to leave. "Miss Walsh," Mrs. Caldwell called after me, "for what it's worth, any mother who would do what you've done is someone to be proud of. If my son were dating your daughter, I'd want to know about you. The real you. Maybe you should tell your son that," I said, "because Trevor knows. He's been helping Natalie hide me for months." I left. I went home. I finished packing. That night, I sent Natalie a single text. "The donor list for the gala will be published Wednesday. Check it. We need to talk. I'll be at the cottage in Lake George. I'm moving there permanently. The address is in your email." I didn't explain. I just sent the address. Then I blocked her number. Not forever. Just until I was ready. I drove upstate Tuesday morning. 5 hours through New York traffic, then onto winding roads, then finally onto a dirt path that led to my cottage. My cottage, the word still felt unreal. It was smaller than the photos. The paint was peeling. The porch sagged. But it was mine. I unlocked the door, walked inside, and breathed. Silence. Complete silence. No city noise. No neighbors through thin walls. Just silence and the sound of my own breathing. I spent Tuesday and Wednesday cleaning. The place needed work, but I didn't care. I scrubbed floors. I wiped windows. I unpacked my few belongings. I hung pictures of my mom on the walls, pictures of Natalie as a baby, pictures of me from before, when I was still a teacher, when I still thought my life was going to be different. Wednesday evening, my phone buzzed. I'd unblocked Natalie that afternoon, knowing she would have seen the donor list by now. 17 missed calls. 12 texts, all variations of "what the hell, Mom," and "you need to call me," and "Trevor's family is asking questions." I didn't call her back. I texted, "I'm at the cottage. If you want to talk, you know where I am." She showed up Friday morning. I was on the porch, drinking coffee and watching the mountains, when her BMW pulled up the dirt road. She got out wearing designer jeans and a cashmere sweater, looking completely out of place against the backdrop of trees and old wood. "Mom, what the hell?" I took a sip of coffee. "Good morning to you, too. You donated $5,000 to Trevor's Family Foundation? Where did you even get that kind of money?" "I saved it. The same way I saved money to put you through school." "But you don't have money to save. You work retail." "I worked retail," I corrected. "I quit. I'm done funding your life while you're ashamed of mine." Her face flushed. "I'm not ashamed. You introduced me as the help, Natalie." Silence. She looked at the porch floor. "I didn't. Trevor's parents are very particular. They have expectations. And I didn't meet them. I know. I heard you 6 months ago. In your apartment. You and Emma and Trevor, laughing about how embarrassing I am." Her eyes went wide. "You heard that? Every word. You think I summer in Queens watching Netflix. You think I'm not good enough for Trevor's old money family. You think I'm a stain on your carefully constructed life." "Mom, I didn't mean—" "Yes, you did. You meant every word. And you know what? I'm done. I'm done apologizing for working retail instead of having a career. I'm done apologizing for not being wealthy. I'm done apologizing for existing in your life. So what? You just bought a house and moved away? That's your solution?" "Yes. This is my house. I bought it with money I saved by not giving it to you every time you had an emergency. I bought it by selling my car, my jewelry, my mother's wedding ring. I bought it because I needed a place where I wasn't a secret or a shame or a burden." Natalie's eyes filled with tears. "You sold Grandma's ring?" "I did, because I needed an escape more than I needed a memory." "Mom, I'm sorry. I am. I was wrong. But you can't just leave. You're my mother. I am your mother. Which is why it hurt so much when you erased me. when you made me into staff, when you hid me like I was something dirty. Trevor's family is very judgmental. I don't care about Trevor's family. I care about you. I care about my daughter, who I gave up everything for, who couldn't even introduce me as her mother. We stood there, her crying, me dry-eyed and exhausted. You want to know something? I said quietly. I don't regret the sacrifices. I don't regret working 3 jobs or quitting teaching or taking out loans. I'd do it all again because I love you. But I won't let you erase me. Not anymore. So, what happens now? Her voice was small. Now? Now you go back to your life, your job, your boyfriend, your apartment, and I stay here. And when you're ready to have a mother instead of a secret, you know where to find me. That's it? That's it. I'm not asking you to choose. I'm telling you that I chose myself. Finally. She stood there for a long moment, tears running down her face. Then she got in her car and left. I watched her BMW disappear down the dirt road, and I waited for the guilt to come, the regret, the urge to call her back. It didn't come. I finished my coffee. I went inside. I started working on sanding the kitchen cabinets. That was 3 months ago. Natalie has texted twice since then. Short messages. I'm thinking about what you said. And 2 weeks later, Trevor and I broke up. I didn't ask why. I just responded, I'm sorry. I'm here if you need me. She hasn't visited again. But she hasn't asked me to come back to the city either. We're in this strange in-between place. Not estranged, but not close. Healing, maybe. Or learning how to be in each other's lives without one of us disappearing. I got a job at a local elementary school, teaching part-time. Turns out small towns need teachers and don't care about gaps in your resume. I make less money, but my rent is 0 because I own my home. I have enough. My neighbors are kind. The woman next door brought me apple pie. The couple across the road invited me to their bonfire. No one here knows about Natalie or Trevor or charity galas. They just know Rebecca, the woman who teaches 3rd grade and is fixing up the cottage by the lake. Last week, I got a letter in the mail. Handwritten. From Natalie. Mom, it said. I'm sorry. I'm working on being less selfish. I'm working on being someone you'd be proud of, instead of just someone who's ashamed of where she came from. I don't know if I'm ready to visit yet, but I want to be. I want to know the woman you've become, not the mother I took for granted, but the person you are now. Can we try again? Slowly? I haven't written back yet. I'm not avoiding it. I'm just thinking about what to say. Because the truth is, I'm not the same person I was 3 months ago. I'm not the mother who says yes to everything, who funds every emergency, who makes herself small so her daughter can feel big. I'm still her mother. I always will be. But I'm also Rebecca. Just Rebecca. The woman who bought her own house, who donated $5,000 to prove a point, who walked away from a life where she was invisible. And I kind of like her. I'll write Natalie back. Maybe this weekend. I'll tell her she can visit. We can try again. But this time, it'll be on my terms, in my space, where I'm not a secret or a shame or someone to be hidden. This time, if she comes, it'll be because she wants to know her mother. Not because she needs something from her. And if she doesn't come, if she decides this new version of me is too much, too difficult, too demanding, then I'll be sad. But I'll survive, because I have something I didn't have before. I have a home. Not just a house, but a home. A place that's mine. A life that's mine. A future that I built with my own hands, with my own money, with my own strength. And nobody, not even my daughter, can take that away from me. I look out at the lake every morning with my coffee. I watch the sun rise over the mountains. I plan which room to renovate next. I grade papers from my 3rd graders. I make friends with people who've known me for 3 months and somehow see me more clearly than my daughter did in 23 years. And I think about that woman in the black dress, holding a tray at a charity gala, being introduced as help. She's gone now. She left the night she walked out of that country club. She left when she drove upstate with her life packed in a failing car. She left when she chose herself over being chosen. And in her place is someone stronger. Someone who knows her worth. Someone who doesn't apologize for existing. Someone who takes up space and doesn't feel guilty about it. If you've ever felt invisible in your own life, If you've ever been erased by someone you gave everything to, if you've ever wondered when it's okay to choose yourself, let me tell you, it's okay right now. Today. This moment. You don't need permission to exist. You don't need permission to take up space. You don't need permission to be seen. You just need the courage to stand up and say, I'm here, I matter, and I'm done apologizing for it. That's what I learned at 41 years old, standing on a sagging porch of a cottage I bought with my own money, drinking coffee, and watching the sunrise over mountains that are mine to look at every single day. I learned that sometimes love means letting go. Not of the person, but of the version of yourself that they need you to be. I let go of the mother who said yes to everything, and I became the woman who finally said yes to herself. And you know what? I've never been happier.